Welcome to Module 2. This week, we're going to start talking about systems thinking. This is a concept that can be easy for some people to understand, very difficult for other people to understand. So stick with me, and I think I can help you with it. Now, when we look at systems thinking, what it looks at is how everything is interconnected, how one thing affects another thing, and how we can't just look at individual parts to understand the whole picture. Now, your text starts looking at the Marvel Cinematic Universe or MCU, which you can't go wrong with the MCU. So I'm with that. For those of you who are MCU fans, you're understanding how every single piece connects to every single piece, how every movie connects to another movie, and how all the TV shows connect to the point where you kind of want something to be independent. But when we really look at the way everything is connected, it shows you how the influence of one thing will start moving into the next character and the next character and has this ripple effect. Each tiny piece is just one part of that larger system. And it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of things to understand. You miss one movie and you're totally confused. So when we really start thinking about it, I want you to think about all the different systems you have in your life. And many of these you'll know because they use the word systems. So we have ecosystems. That's all things in nature working together. We have a cultural system, all your beliefs, values, all of those together. A solar system, a societal system, a healthcare system, a government system, legal system, judicial system, economic system. They're all talking about how everything is connected. But what makes it a little bit more confusing, and we throw sustainability in, now we're going to say, now all of those things are connected. You can't change the environment without affecting the economy. And you can't change something that affects the economy without in some way affecting social justice, since things have different prices. Everything is just interconnected in one huge global or holistic system. So when we look at these, we have to talk about how everything is interconnected. So look through the systems you have in your life. If we look at that environmental system, for example, we live in the environment. So what happens in the environment is going to affect humans in different ways. That environment is going to affect what we can and cannot have as far as economy. So all of these things connect together. When we're discussing each one of these little concepts, I want you to look at that as a small scale, and then as your text mentions, zoom back out and look at that big picture. See how the practices, the traditions you do, how all of that affects everything else within your environment. Within pop culture, we see some other examples of sustainability. There are some which are a little bit more obvious and some which are a little bit less. Your text describes Moana, very popular environmental example, or Aaron Brockovich. But when we start looking at economics, we need to look at how those economic consequences can move to other things. And we also want to look at those which look at social sustainability. Is there a huge divide between the rich and the poor? Now, when we start looking at these, I want you guys to just make sure that you take a look at what practices you do right now and try to see how these systems all work together. Some of your readings this week, like plastic pollution, will kind of go down to how that one bottle of plastic that you're using right now has bigger effects throughout the entire world, how different people have different views on that. And we're also going to delve a little bit into how technology is seriously affecting the environment. I've had huge arguments and discussions with people trying to remind them that AI, while I know a lot of you love it, is actually doing a lot of negative things for the environment. So we need to figure out a way to make sure we can do that better. And we have to look at buying local, how much of a difference that can make. So I hope that you actually really enjoy taking these concepts of these huge things and how they all work together to discuss this in our discussion this week, where we're going to talk about what communities you're involved in and how they are connected and how they connect or don't connect to sustainability. And then we're going to look at technology, as I mentioned. We're going to look at how technology influences your behavior, and we're going to figure out how technology influences those three pillars. So how does the technology you use every day affect the environment, affect social equality, and affect economy? All of these are closely connected, and I really hope you enjoy this experience this week. As always, reach out if you need any help or clarification. I'm here to help.